Hello, hello, dear ones. Welcome, welcome. Yes, we are here to talk about relationships. And if you have one, you might wish you didn't. And if you don't have one, you might wish that you did. And isn't this the way of relationships? And those who are lonely wish they had someone to share their life with. And then sometimes you find the one that you think you want to spend the rest of your life with and you really want out. Isn't that the way of it? And so we're going to talk about triangles of the ego, of the egoic nature, and how we get tricked into to trauma and drama by our own egoic nature, and also sometimes lured in by others. And we are iron sharpening iron and working together to soften our triangular edges in relationship. And we're also going to talk about how you can flip the triangle into those God kind of triangles that you really want. But first, we want to talk about why three? Why three? Why not four or five or two or so on? Why are triangles so magnetic and pervasive in relationships for everyone? Well, first of all, the one splits into two in the womb. The seed of the mother and the father that come together to make the one. And then there's a splitting off, a flowering from there. But in relationships, when the ego surfaces for clearing, which is a major purpose for relationships, it is for spiritual growth, it is for a challenging and a button pushing of your egoic structures so they can be transformed. And so you can be less of that and more of the God, fifth dimensional being that you are. So in the two come together, and there can be a rubbing and a bumping of egoic parts and fearful parts and provoking of one another. And when it gets just a little bit too much, the two will reach out to pull in a third party. Why? Well, it's very simple. Imagine yourself right now in this moment trying to sit on a two-legged stool. What are the chances that you would remain upright very long on a two-legged stool? Well, not very good. It is that third leg that adds the support and the stability for you to sit upright without falling over. And so there is an instinct to pull in a third. And we can't go into all of it, but it has to do with some of the basic instinct of survival and the reason why many couplings decide to have a child, to have that third, which brings the stability to the triangle. Now, this is why many in relationships get to a difficult point where there's friction and difficulty, and one reaches out and pulls in a third in the party of a mistress or a lover on the side, you see. And why do they do it? Against their better judgment? Because it stabilizes what is unstable. And don't misunderstand, we're not saying that's the way to go necessarily. We are saying that's why it happens and why it is so very common. So here we have three. Once there are three in this triangle of the egoic nature, trust me, trust us in this. You are playing one of the three roles then, the rescuer, the victim, or the persecutor. And as soon as a third party is involved in the triangle, two will feel connected and a third will feel on the outside. So in the triangle, there are two insiders and one outsider, two insiders and one outsider. And that can also shift where the one who's feeling on the inside will then suddenly feel on the outside. And you can see this play out constantly within minutes, hours, as we said, weeks, months, or years. This vessel remembers when one of her children were brand new drivers. And she got a phone call. Mom, my car is broken down in this very busy intersection. Can you help me, please? And of course, as mothers do, she was frightened and immediately stepped onto the drama triangle of rescuer. Now, never mind that the child had allowed themselves to run out of gas. Mom to the rescue. And so she came and she got a gas can and got some gas and helped the child. And it was a very busy intersection and it was a very dangerous situation, very unpleasant. Gave the child some gas and then off the child went. And there she stood in the busy intersection with her car. Now, released, she was done with her rescue, ready to go home. And guess what? She was mad. She moved right from rescuer to persecutor. Boy, was she mad. And guess who she was mad at? Mad at the very child she had rescued had been irresponsibly let themselves run out of gas. And then just as quickly as she moved to that segment of the triangle, she moved to the victim. Poor me, look at me. Look what my child has done. Look what I've done to myself. Look how I've let myself get sucked in again to rescuing. You see? Now, when you stay off of this egoic triangle, you feel at peace. You are minding your own business. You are taking care of your own business. You are being responsible to yourself and to your higher self and to what is important and valid to you. And you are living up to your true responsibilities to others. And if you do help, and if you do offer assistance, it is not in expecting any sort of repayment or any sort of pats on the back or so on. You're doing it strictly from a place of love. And therefore, when you are done with your helping, you do not feel victimized and you do not feel angry or resentful. There is a difference between real helping and codependent rescuing, you see. And so we're not saying don't ever help or don't ever rescue. Obviously, if your child is in the traffic and in danger and you want to help, please do. But this triangle is more about the 4D realities of how you process what happens in your relationship through your thoughts and emotions than it is about the 3D reality of the circumstance. Now, when you are not on this triangle, you are simply centered in source, centered in peace, centered in a relaxed state of allowing what is, allowing others to be what they are, just letting them be what they are, not needing to fix or change, manipulate, influence, cheer them on or whatever, but just letting them be what they are. Now, how do you begin shifting it? If you find yourself in the middle of a triangle, how do you begin shifting it? First, know what your role is. First of all, you must change. Well, we will say this. If you are on this 4D egoic triangle, you most certainly will eventually wind up in the victim spot, feeling victimized by this drama that you are allowing yourself to participate in. So the first shift you may make is this. You look at the situation and you ask yourself, how can I create what I want in this situation? How can I create something different here? And you begin to look towards what you want to create differently. Not for the other, for yourself. And if you're already in a tangle, if you're already on the triangle and you're getting pulled forward and around it, Can you shift what you're doing rather than rescuing? Can you challenge the other to be the creator of a different outcome for themselves? Can you challenge them if they are playing the victim? Can you challenge them to see how they have created the situation for themselves and how they can shift it to something different? Even the parts they feel powerless about, or perhaps have even been a true victim of others. How can they shift, shift, shift? There are mothers and fathers and loved ones who do this everywhere, all over the country. They lose a child, let's say to a school shooting, and now there are certain advocates that would be very frightened to see these mothers and fathers coming, because these mothers and fathers are becoming the creator of a new future for themselves, and not just themselves, but for many, many other children, not their own. And they're doing it. Their child was a true victim, but they have chosen not to be a victim. They have chosen to create a new and different future, you see. So real victims, if you are a real victim, we would just say, once you're past a certain age, once you are aware, it is your choice. You may continue to suffer, or you may, in your suffering, begin to shift towards being a creator of something new and different for yourself and others. And persecuting. Can you shift when you have that desire to persecute? Can you release and instead challenge and become a coach? Sharing your own experience, but not telling others what to do, allowing them the dignity of coming to their own conclusions, allowing them the dignity of their own spiritual path, their own failings. For you see, if you are the rescuer and you are the one with all the wisdom, then how have they learned to trust the God in them? How have they learned to trust and lean on their higher self? How have they become mature creators of their own reality? If you're their savior, how can they be the creator? And we understand this is challenging because the more the people get involved in these scenarios, they are like billiard balls bouncing around on a table. And if you see, we would say as well, if you see a triangle unfolding for you, these being most common in families, let's say you see your partner and your child operating as the victim and the persecutor. Can you stay off the triangle? If the child is vulnerable, and it is your responsibility as the parent to protect, can you do it without persecuting? Can you challenge the partner? And at the same time, coach your child as to how to speak up and use their own voice to create something new and different for themselves, you see. Now, there are more advantageous ways to operate in triangles. When there is tension between you and another that's very important to you, you can bring in a third party. No need for a lover or mistress. How about an angel? How about an enlightened being that can challenge your ego with a message of wisdom? How about a spiritual coach? How about a friend that works together with you in spiritual partnership to hold you accountable and show you, challenge you as to where you're playing the victim or the persecutor with your spouse, you see. So you can create intentional power triangles. and begin to access the fifth dimensional parts of yourself to shift the dynamic. And you say, yes, but what about? What about them? And what about them? And what about them? And so on and so on and so on. And blaming will never get you anywhere at all. Your best bet is to step off the triangle until you're reoriented with your higher self. Step off altogether. Silence is golden, as they say. And it doesn't have to be a steely, sort of angry silence. It can be an honest silence. You know, I'm really at odds right now. I'm really out of sorts, and I need some time to meditate and sort out what part of this is my business. And ultimately, as you're aware of the triangle, to be fifth dimensional in nature in these triangles is to see that, understand that you are the creator of your own reality, and whatever the others on the triangle are doing is mirroring back to you some part of yourself, a part of yourself that deserves your love and your acceptance and deserves to be integrated. They are showing you something about yourself that you may not want to look at. But if you can embrace it and say, oh, I see, I have created this dynamic. And I don't understand how or why I did it, but I know that there's a higher purpose for it. And I'm going to buy the truth right here. And I'm not going to return it with a receipt and a 30-day refund policy. I'm going to buy the truth about my part right here. And in that, my dear, you'll be set free. You'll be set free to create something new, something new, something new and different. And call in your angels and your spirit guides to stabilize the unsteady relationships. For there are so many triangles. One of the most famous, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Trinity. And there are more, like the beautiful Pleiadian sisters, the three sisters that operate together in perfect unity. And this is a possibility for you as well.